Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Just Jocelyn. I'm your host, Jocelyn, as you all know, and I have three fabulous guests today, and we have Terry Reiber, we have Russ Hodgkins, and we have Diane Layton. And these three lovely people are going to be running for Amherst, which happens to be District 34. And the reason I invited them here is, it's politics season. When is it not? And we really need to spend time finding out what's in their hearts, what's on their minds, and what we need them to do. Because first and foremost, we have the Constitution. We have the Constitution of New Hampshire, and that is first and foremost. We, the people, ask our representatives to do what we need. We fund them. Our taxes pay their salaries. Of course, in New Hampshire, that's $100 a year, which really kind of stinks. But that's the point. We need to stop these 1,500 lobby bills sitting there when they walk in on a session. And none of them came from me or you or anybody out there. So this is a chance to meet these three people, find out what they're all about, what is their thought process, and encourage you to email them, donate, door knock, whatever it is you need. And some of you I know are not from Amherst, but if you like what you hear here, maybe that's questioning and concerns you should take to your representatives. It's all about educating, it's all about learning, and it's all about taking your place in this process and making sure that it follows the Constitution. So with that little rant, as you know I all do, welcome everybody.
Thank you.
All right, would you like to take a minute to introduce yourselves? We'll go around this way. Go
Sure.
ahead, Mr. Terry.
My name is Terry Reiber. I live in Amherst, and I'm running for state rep, Republican. I'm a Republican in District 34. A little bit of my background is I was the chair of the Amherst Republican Committee. I had to step down temporarily to run in the primary. I've also been on the executive board of the NHGOP, which I also stepped down to run. And my interest, of course, is we have this issue where our three current reps are Democrats, and they're going up to Concord, and they're voting in a way that just absolutely does not represent what Amherst is about. So our goal is the three of us are running together as a team, and we're looking to flip Amherst red. We're looking to get every one of those Democrats out of office and get us three in office so that we can vote the way that people in Amherst would like to see us vote.
That's awesome. Russ?
Oh, Jocelyn. My name is Russ Hodgkins. I am from Quincy, Massachusetts. Went to high school there. When I was 18, went off and joined the Air Force. Spent the next 33 years in the Air Force.
Nice.
Retired as a colonel. I was a pilot in the Air Force. When I retired, moved to Amherst. And I've been living here in Amherst for about 15 years now.
Excellent.
I've become active in local affairs and so forth. I am a member of the Ways and Means Committee of our town. I've got a lot of experience working with budgets and things like that.
You're a numbers guy, right?
Yes, I'm a numbers guy. And I look at the way things are. And in New Hampshire, we've got a pretty good climate for business. We've got a pretty good climate for taxes. Which translates to good quality of life for all of our residents here. I think we need to keep that. There's two things people can do when things start going a little south. They can sit around and complain about it, or they can roll up their sleeves and work. And I'm always the sort of guy who's willing to roll up my sleeves and work and try to fix things. So overall, love New Hampshire. Been a resident here for about 15 years. Want to keep New Hampshire as a great place to live and a great place for people to raise families and so forth, and that's why I'm running for state rep.
Thank you. Miss Diane.
I'm Diane Layton. I'm originally from New Jersey. I was born and grew up there. And I worked on Wall Street. I followed my dad and his dad, actually, onto Wall Street, the futures markets specifically, and the cotton ring. And then I became a financial planner, and I was sitting at people's kitchen tables, helping them sort out their personal finances. And I did that for a while. Then I raised my kids, and my husband and I are married 35 years. We moved here to New Hampshire about 6 years ago. And New Hampshire, the way it is now, reminds me of how New Jersey used to be when I was growing up. And so I would like to maintain that here, not see it go the way of high taxes and, very progressive policies and all of that. So that's my impetus in getting involved. I see a lot of extremism happening in politics, and I don't care for that. So I'm hoping to bring the voice of reason and hopefully make the world a better place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So without further ado, all three of these people have websites, and we have Terry, Terry, the number 4, Amherst.com, Russ, Russ, 4, again, the number 4, Amherst.com, and Diane, 4Amherst.com. So you can see nice little balance there. Same thing, not too much to remember. You brought up progressive and extremism. So I'd like to do a quick lightning round because in listening to all the different social media and people and debates and TV, there seems to be a divide on what progressive is. And the other side likes to beat us up on it and say, you're dragging us back to 1960. Oh, please, God, may we? Because our politicians listened to us then, and people could read and write, and they knew what the Constitution was. Just my 3 cents. So what do you think, Terry?
Well, if you actually look at what progressives are prescribing for New Hampshire, the progressive vision is, abortion out to 9 months. And these are healthy mothers carrying healthy babies, and they go down to Concord, our local reps. They walk around our town like just normal human beings, but when they go down to Concord, they vote for abortion out to 9 months. That's extreme. There are very few people in Amherst believe that a healthy baby should be aborted like 5 minutes before it's delivered, but all of our Democrat reps have voted for that. They also are in favor of sanctuary cities where illegal immigrants perform violent crimes or involved in drugs, but they shouldn't be turned over to ICE to be deported. They believe in driver's licenses for illegal aliens, and it'll be just a matter of time before they'll let them vote in local elections, and probably very soon they'll have them voting in our federal elections. So that's a very extreme position, and I don't believe that position represents where Amherst is at. And one of the individuals running for state rep in our town is already discussing on our website new tax revenue streams. They want to bring in sales tax, they want to bring in an income tax, they want to extend the dividends and interest tax. A lot of the votes they take in Concord, the people don't know in Amherst, they're going up to Concord and they're voting for very extreme measures. And these are the kind of measures that will destroy the state. So when they say that we're extreme, it's a joke. I mean, they're the ones that are walking around Amherst, these reps. We interact with them. They seem like normal people, but something goes off in their head. Once they get to Concord, they turn into extremists. They just follow their party like lemmings over a cliff and just vote in ways that has nothing to do with the average values or opinions of the people of Amherst.
So they're pretty much voting in lockstep and not sticking to their own morals and principles.
They don't vote their own conscience.
Yep.
Which is what we all hope they're a representative for, or they don't listen to us. They're not listening to us.
We the people.
So they're not representing us.
Correct.
So they're just voting what they're told to do.
Absolutely. What say you, Russ?
Well, I had a boss one time in the Air Force that one of his favorite sayings is, we can do anything, we just can't do everything. And I don't think very many progressives live by that motto, because the word enough is never in their lexicon. They can always find ways to spend more of our money.
Yes.
And do more things and create more government programs that drive up spending more and more. Now, here in a state, we don't have the luxury of being able to print money.
Correct.
Like they do down in Washington, D.C. So if we spend money, the only way to make it work is to tax the people more.
Correct.
And so if we want to keep this treadmill going of more and more spending, then that drives more and more taxation. And that's what we need to look at, is we need to look and we need to separate the nice to do things from the need
wish
to
list.
do things. There's things that the state needs to do. We need to plow the streets in the wintertime. You know, we need to make sure that the things that the state does are getting done. But we need to really think carefully before we start taking on new activities and new programs and new things for the state to do.
Right.
Because when you do that, generally you're doing that for a very small group of people who may or may not really need you to do that all that much.
It just sounds good, feels good, smells good, and let's do it.
Exactly. Does it help everybody in the state, or does it help just a narrow focus? So again, separate the need to do from the nice to do. Make sure we're doing the need to do first, and then that's where we should stop.
Yep, I agree, but I think we need to be looking at the state constitution and exactly what it says you can and cannot do with the tax money from the people. And I think that would be a starting point instead of, like you said, the wish list and feel-good list, and then by hook or by crook, figure out how are we going to tax these people, how we can get the money in. And the other thing is, at no point, and this is, you know, across the nation as well, whatever happened to starting at zero? You know, they all start at, well, what was the budget last year? Okay, we'll start there because we need this, this, and this. No. You go back to zero because there's an awful lot of things, and you guys might be aware of it, that, what's the word?
There's bureaucratic inertia.
Thank you. And that, you know, that sunsetted. We've got laws that are sunsetted and expenses that are sunsetted, and they never seem to disappear.
Yeah. Well, I actually talk about that on my website. So if people go to my website, they'll see.
RustForAmherst.com.
Every time we pass a law should have three elements to it. The first part is we should say, what is the law going to do? And we need to have some kind of measurable objectives there. So you say, we're going to pass a law and it's going to create 100 jobs. Or we're going to pass a law and it's going to clean up this river. Or something like that. So there has to be some objective in a law.
Tangible.
That's tangible, that's measurable. Then we need to say how much it's going to cost. We need to say, this law will cost X amount of dollars and put this many new state employees on the payroll. Now, I will say that the state is usually pretty good at that. So when you read laws that are being passed in Concord, usually there's an economic assessment of them as to what that's going to cost. So that's done pretty well here. I'm not saying that as a criticism of the way that the laws go now. But the third part that I don't see a whole lot is we need to have a part of the law that says, what do we do if this doesn't work? Because, you know, there's always a big, not always, but sometimes there's a gap between intentions and results, where we intend for something to happen and then the law of unintended consequences comes in, and laws that were passed with the best of intentions end up not working, going awry, something else.
Right.
So we need to have something in there that says, what's the law going to do? How much is it going to cost? And what happens if it doesn't work?
Right.
And if it doesn't work, does it sunset? Does it get changed or whatever? And then that'll give us the opportunity to look at these things better.
I like that. So there were three subjects just to start with that the three of you wanted to discuss. And I think you started with abortion, Terry. So I'm going to go the other way and start with Diane. If you'd like to speak on that topic, or if you want to speak about sanctuary cities and taxation. I know you all have strong feelings about certain one of these or all of them, so
All of them,
encourage
really.
you. Okay, good, then go for it.
Yeah, but on abortion, I remember when I was in my 20s having very strong feelings that no one should be able to tell a woman what to do with her body unreservedly. And I, read the book Our Bodies Ourselves, and that was it. But in my 40s, I began to see that up to 1.4 million women each year were having an abortion. And all of a sudden it was like, that's a lot. That's like the pendulum has swung too far. And so it's like, we have to do better than this. This is not a good thing for our society. So anyway.
Would you want to stick to that subject and then we'll just keep?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll go to the next one, so that way that lets you regroup.
So in the clear cases of rape or incest or unexpected illness,
Right.
woman with cancer who has to have chemotherapy, or the path is clear. But it seems to me that other than that, women were not in control of their bodies. Mm-hmm. That they were having an abortion as a form of birth control, and it just didn't seem like they were in control. So anyway, at no point in this progression of my thinking did I ever include the possibility that a healthy mother carrying a healthy baby would even consider the possibility of aborting that baby at 8 or 9 months, or mm-hmm. even after birth. It's just unthinkable. And
I don't think it ever entered anybody's mind as we were growing up. And it just feels like there's been, well, we all know the videotapes that have come out about Roe v. Wade. And it's all over social media, which is the best way to educate people. People will say, well, you see it, you do the deep dive, you do your research. The woman admits she lied. And so we have federal statutes and laws that were passed based on lies. Mm. And so President Trump came along and he kicked it back to the states where it belongs. Everybody screams and yells and has their temper tantrums that, they can't dictate to me. Well, it's very clear the states make the decision. He put it back there, and the evidence of the woman lying, taking several $100,000s of money, and for how many decades was that the standard? I mean, that's just insane. So kicking it back to the states, now we, the people, can decide and vote and decide what does the Constitution say, because it's we, the people, that decide that.
Yes.
And you can't change that. So, I think that was a huge catalyst to make people actually think and decide what is moral, what is proper, and what do we want to do, instead of having this overreaching, illegal, unconstitutional law that wasn't passed by we the people. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Russ?
Yes, I guess I'll, if I may, throw in a story here.
Yeah.
During my time in the Air Force, obviously I worked my way up through the ranks and so forth. When you're in your 20s, you're in a squadron, you're in a group with a lot of other people your own age, and everybody's having kids, and it's your kids all kind of grow up together. Mm-hmm. The last assignment I had in the Air Force, when I was a colonel, I was at basically headquarters, and all the people that were around me were senior people, lieutenant colonels, majors, and so forth. Had a guy that was one of my majors. And he was an older guy, kind of one of these guys. He was a confirmed bachelor mm-hmm. until he wasn't. Okay. And then, so he got married late, and he married a lady of, about the same age as him. And we're going to have a child. And it was all good. And it was like, hey, this is like being a lieutenant again. We're living, with people with little kids and so forth. There were some complications, and the child was born premature at about 20 weeks.
Okay, so that's
now think
months.
About 20 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's in New Hampshire, we can have legal abortion up to 24 weeks.
Mm-hmm. 6 months.
So 20 weeks, child was born. Obviously, he had to go through prenatal incubators and so forth.
Right.
But I got to hold the child several days after he was born, mm-hmm. and we put like a little patch on him, and so it basically took up his whole body because he was so little. Mm-hmm. But what impressed me though was that how he just was clinging to life. That this was not a mass of cells or all the euphemisms that we hear.
Right.
This was a real, no kidding, baby, 10 fingers, 10 toes. Little nose, mouth, eyes, and the whole thing. And he was alive, and he wanted to live. Mm. So it's just, when I hear people talk about abortion and so forth, especially as you get into the late term, it's a human life.
Right.
It's a baby mm-hmm. that could live. And so that's an emotional appeal. I realize there's nothing scientific at all about this, but just to think about what a 20-week-old baby can certainly live can certainly strive and so forth.
Well,
We should really think twice about these very late-term abortions. And
just
I think-
throwing out these numbers.
Yeah.
That 20 weeks is 5 months, 24 weeks
Yeah.
is 6 months.
Yeah.
And they're talking about it to 9 months,
Yeah.
literally to the moment
Yeah.
of birth.
Yeah.
Which, in all these cases, the other little caveats they throw out is, well, if it can't live outside of the body. Oh, when did you become a doctor? And you always talk about technology. Have you been into a NIC unit? Have you been into any of these
Yeah.
hospitals where they do amazing things? You know,
Yeah.
I just think it's way too cavalier. Just like Roe v. Wade is for everybody, and the woman lied.
Yeah.
And she lied. We've got a couple minutes here before we go to a break. Would you like to add anything to that, Terry?
Sure. I mean, I think the Democrats are very inconsistent on this topic. For instance, our Democrats tried to pass a seatbelt law in this state. It failed, not, obviously, because that's not how we roll. But it just seemed to me that the Democrats were like really concerned about if we were in an accident, we might smush our brains into the windshield. But these same Democrats and the Democrats in our town voted for abortion out to 9 months. So they don't have a problem with the baby's head being crushed, 10 minutes before it's born. But once the baby's born and going to the parents' home 2 days later, they're really worried about that baby's head getting smushed inside the car with
In
the
the
car
car seat,
accident. So how can they even?
How do you equate that?
Yeah, so it's just so inconsistent. In fact, it's crazy inconsistent. So I think we need consistency here. And right now, the state law is 6 months. That's what it was before this Roe v. Wade was turned over. The vast majority of this state agrees that parents can, or a woman can have an abortion up to 6 months, and after that, there's medical reasons that have to come into play. Most people in this state are quite okay with that, and a lot of Republicans are actually okay with that. But for some reason, the Democrats just want to go out in this fringe where they want an abortion up to 9 months, no questions asked. Like a woman could, I'm not saying this would happen, but a woman could go into the hospital and say 5 minutes before the baby's born, "Oh, doctor, can you abort this? And I'm going to stream this on TikTok," and that would be legal, and they wouldn't have a problem with it.
And there's no ramifications on the doctor for allowing that, because I believe the new vice president that has been selected by the candidate for president on the other side, he feels that if the child is born at 9 months and the mother changes her mind, that the baby is
Set aside,
and no medical treatment. They can freeze, babies have to be kept warm. And it's just, it's mind-boggling to me that they can be so cavalier and uncaring about life. But like you said, we've got the extremes of wear your seatbelt, don't you ride that bike, you put that helmet on.
Yeah,
and if you go to
exactly.
the doctors and they say, "Oh, do you ride a bike?" "Yes, I ride a bike." "Well, do you put your helmet on?"
Yeah.
"No." "Do you?" And you get written up for it, Don't give her any insurance. She doesn't put a helmet on. I mean, it really is ridiculous. And some people may say, well, they're not remotely the same. Well, yeah, they kind of are.
protecting life.
Protecting life. Yeah. And we really need to talk about, not right now, but the conversation needs to be, where in the Constitution does it say murder is okay? Because that is ultimately what we're talking about, murder. And I don't know anywhere in the maxims of law, common law, fundamental law, or the law of the Constitution where that's okay. And we have to remember that our inalienable rights, I think Russ talked about it, and we'll talk about it when we come back, you put it very eloquently the other day, is you cannot take away our rights. And in New Hampshire, the beginning of the Constitution is all about our God-given rights. And nobody can touch them. Nobody can say anything about them. And it's first and foremost, and then we go into the New Hampshire Constitution, and we go on from there. So why don't we go to a quick break, and everybody can powder their nose, regroup, and then we'll come right back, and we're going to go on to the next topic, sanctuary cities and taxation. Ooh boy. You know, we know a lot about it, but I think we really need to know a little bit more. So we'll be right back. Go get something to drink, something to eat, and we'll see you in a minute.